Hi everybody, welcome to another episode of Ramsey's Rockin' Roads. Scott Ramsey here with my sidekick Funny Boy Shane, and we're here once again. We love this place, beautiful Waller Park, Santa Maria, California. So this episode we're going to talk more, and I know I don't mean to get redundant and I don't mean to bore you guys with overlapping stuff, but we're going to talk today more about chip seal. Chip seal is, well, I'm going to start out by saying chip seal is near and dear to my heart because, and I've laughed about this on other episodes, chip seal is one of the reasons why Ramsey Asphalt is still here in business to this day. Because during 2007, 2008, 2009, when people could not afford to pave, they could not afford to pave their parking lots, they could not afford to overlay their parking lots, they could not afford to dig out their parking lots, they couldn't afford to build new parking lots, we were maintaining everything. And we were maintaining them tamale patching, double coat, seal coat, adding sand, chip seal, whatever we could do to save, and we did. And so that was kind of a realization for me that maintenance and preservation has to go hand in hand. If I'm going to continue to be a paving contractor, we have to stay strong in our preservation. We have to stay strong in our maintenance. So here we are. And I will give you a little secret about me. And I think I've said this on another episode where there was once a time where I actually wanted to get rid of the seal coat division and the maintenance division of the company because there was always a thorn on my side. Scuffing and tire marks, and you spend all weekend long seal coating in parking lot. You work 24 hours a day, Saturday, 24 hours a day, Sunday striping, and then Monday morning you open it up to traffic and then the customer calls and complains. I was like, okay, I'm over this. Excuse my language. I was over it. Anyway, but here we are. 2007, 2008, 2009 opened me up and said, hey, we got to keep an open mind. We have to continue on with the preservation. So chip seal is near and dear to my heart. So I'm going to talk more about chip seal, kind of some of the do's and the don'ts. And I'll start out by talking about why chip seal is so big for us. And so let's talk about just from a sheer asphalt preservation. So chip seal is a very thick layer. Now, the layer is dependent only upon the size of the rock. So typically 3 size rocks for chip seal. There is a 4th one, but I won't really go into that. But typically you have a 1/4 inch rock, a 5/16 rock, and a 3/8 rock. Those are what Sally homeowner wants to hear about. You don't need to get exotic, get into 1/2 inch rock, high oil rates, high flow rates, blah, blah, blah. Just keep it simple. 1/4 inch, 5/16, 3/8, that's it. Now, why would you choose a different size rock? Well, it depends on the kind of surface they want. The smaller, as a general rule of thumb, the smaller the rock, the smaller, hey duck, the smaller the rock, the quieter it is. The smaller the rock, the more comfortable it is. However, I've noticed the smaller the rock, below a 3/8 rock, it tends to get into your shoes. It tends to get into the tire treads. So I prefer, and the same thing happens, believe it or not, the same thing happens with bigger rocks. The bigger rocks, worse, get into your shoe treads, not so much into the tire treads, but so I like, and I prefer to get my clients into 3/8 rock, and that's what we all have the most success with, and that's what most people are most happy with. So asphalt preservation, it's a layer of oil, layer of rock, and then we pancake it in with another layer of oil, and it's black. Simple, inexpensive. It's a micro surface. It literally replaces the need for an overlay. Now, I know you contractors out there are like, oh, Scott, don't give me that. No, I know. I'm going to preface it with saying you're buying time for money. That's it. That's all it is. I can do the same thing with an overlay with chip seal, and I can get you 10 years. An overlay, 20 to 30 years. That's what I tell people. We can go down the road of chip seal, but it's time for money. And the ratio is pretty darn close. You're buying for 10 years, you're paying X. For 30 years, you're paying X. And the chip seal is roughly about 1/3 of the cost of asphalt. So, and that's the way I say it. It's 1/3 the cost for 1/3 of the life. Very simple. 1/3 the cost, 1/3 of the life. Very, very simple, very easy. Now, that's the preservation part. Now, the decorative part, which I want to get into more in this episode, the decorative part of our company, the decorative chip seal, is where we source out all over California because here, geographically located in my area, the only rock that comes out of the quarries here is gray. Basic gray, like concrete. It just looks like blasé, vanilla, gray. Nothing special, nothing romantic, nothing exotic, just gray. So we source rock from all over the area. So now the decorative part of the company, or the decorative part of the chip seal, I misspoke. The decorative part of chip seal, I'm competing with stamped concrete. I'm competing with exposed aggregate concrete. I'm competing with pavers. The people that like chip seal are the ones where they want a European or kind of a European Mediterranean kind of finish, like a Spanish cobble road. Those are the people that just die over chip seal, and they love it. And then the people that want something other than black asphalt, we have an economical alternative called chip seal, and we have all these different color rocks. And Shane, I'm sure Shane will post up online. He'll let you guys see all the different kinds of rocks that we're sourcing from all over California. And I think, Shane, how many of them are there? Is like 10 or 12 different colors, or 9 colors, or 11 colors, or
yeah, about that.
Oh yeah, there's a certain amount of colors, and I'm sure there's more colors out there. I just haven't been able to find them yet. Otherwise, I would be bringing them in. And the color, anything from golds to grays, and we actually have a couple blends that we make, special blends, black, gray, green. I mean, there's all kinds. And then you take these colors, and we've done this, and you'll see it, and Shane will post it up. We've taken these colors and we've mixed them together, and so now we have Cabo Sunset, we have Salt and Pepper. Now, these are just a rock from Northern California and a rock from Southern California, and we mix them together and we just come up with a fancy name. So it's kind of cool, kind of fun. Our clients like it. It gives them more of a selection than just the regular gray or the regular gold, because that's what it's been on the Central Coast. That's the way it's been for the last 35 years, 40 years, 50 years. Been gray or gold. That's it. Well, now we've come to town. Now there's lots of different options. And then because we have lots of different options, our competitors are giving lots of different options. And that's really the basis of this, or the reasoning for this podcast today, is because we are sourcing rock that is approved for chip seal. Now, there are thousands and thousands of different kinds of rock mined from all over the world. Beautiful rocks, different colors, exotic rocks. But the thing is it has to meet a chip seal spec. It has to meet chip seal standards. It has to meet density standards. Meaning, we don't want to do a chip seal and with vehicular traffic. Now, pathways are totally different. But if it's going to have traffic on it, it has to meet chip seal spec. So, you don't want to put a chip seal down, drive your car over it for 30 days, and it completely turn to dust, because that's what will happen. Or some of my estimators come to me and say, hey Scott, this customer saw a rock over at Santa Barbara Building Materials and they want pea gravel. Well, yeah, pea gravel is very dense. Pea gravel is the same rock that I'm using, same color rock that I'm using for chip seal, but it's round. And that rock is going to move and move and move, and it is going to, literally, it's going to destroy itself. The chip seal is angular cut, and it's very, very dense to withstand heavy traffic. Now, even though some of our chip seals, let me rephrase, even though all of our chip seals all of our rock meets chip seal standards and meet density standards, some are a little softer than others, like Rocky Canyon, Shadow Canyon. Those are a little, I see that they break down a little quicker, not by much. It's not like it's not like in a year it's going to be all broken down to nothing, but I have seen where it breaks down a little quicker, but it holds up for years and years and years. And then it's just a matter of, if you love that color, we just deliver a ton of rock and you have your landscaper spread it out and it's no big deal. So getting back to the color of rock, that's why we do have the color of rocks, because of the market we are competing in. We're not even competing with asphalt. We're competing with high-end pavers, high-end concrete, specialized finishes, People love it. Now, when you are talking to contractors and they have 30 different kinds of rock, it's really, really important to find out if they even know. Sometimes contractors, I saw one of my competitors, they had limestone on their website as an option for chip seal. Now limestone, it wouldn't even last a week. You would drive over that limestone and it literally would be powder. So I don't even know why that's even an option on their website, but it's important for you consumers out there, the clients out there, my clients, my future clients, make sure when you're getting competitive bids, you know, ask the question, is this an actual chip rock? And they'll tell you, oh yeah, it'll work, which it will. It'll definitely work. I'll give you, before I move on, I'll give you another scenario. I had a lady, her name's Barbara. I won't give her last name, but Barbara, a wonderful lady, happy client. She's super happy with everything. She's not so happy with herself, but she's happy with what I did. This goes back a couple years, and she was insistent on, I think it's called California Rose Gold or something like that. California Gold Rose or something like that. And she had a sample of it at her house in her walkways, and she was absolutely damn determined that this was the rock we were going to use. And I was damn determined that that wasn't the rock we were going to use. And I actually had a nice alternative, very, very close. It was a very nice alternative. It was actually Navajo, which is very close. And I brought her samples. I drove samples from Santa Maria all the way to Montecito for her. And nope, she wanted, oh, it's Palm Springs Gold. She wanted Palm Springs Gold. I said, okay, that's fine. But I told her, I said, you order it, you truck it, you deliver it, I'll put it down. I don't even want to touch it. And so we did. And she called me back out. She had me do some other stuff at her property about a month later, and went back out, and she and I were looking at the driveway, and sure enough, she's a widow. She's the only one there, maybe a landscaper once a week or a gardener, a mow and blow guy once a week. 30 days later, right where the cars come in, dust. So I told her, I said, hey, just keep having your landscaper push that rock around until it all becomes dust, and then you'll have to just put more rock on the surface. So she was a little disappointed, but that's what happens. If the right rock isn't picked, that's exactly what's gonna happen. It's gonna turn to dust. So I think we've covered, and anybody out there, you guys have questions, I'm happy to answer questions. I love to answer questions. I live for questions. I love educating people and trying to help people see the job through my eyes, because my job when I go out and meet with a client is I want to see the job through their eyes. Why am I here? What do they need? What do they want to change? Usually it's the dust. What do they need? They need to get rid of potholes. They want to get rid of the dust, you know, and all those other things. So I like to see it through their eyes. And I've said this 1,000 times or 10,000 times. Anytime I roll up on a house and I look around and I'm scanning the surroundings, if I see a little tricycle or a training bike or something like that, the first thing out of my mouth, they're like, hey, we're excited for chip seal. And I said, hey, I'm sorry, but I'm not excited for chip seal. And they're like, what do you mean? And I say, well, I can tell by the bicycles here, you have little babies here, and chip seal, as they're training on these bikes, their knees are going to be hamburger meat. And so sometimes there have been several driveways that we've done or several projects we've done where mom and dad says, we don't care, we're getting chip seal. The kids can skateboard in the backyard. That's okay too. So as long as they see things through my eyes and I see things through their eyes, we always work it out. Let's move on. So we talked a lot about rock. Let's talk about the oil. Now, there is very specific oil used for chip seal. The reason, and there's a couple reasons. So the earth is magnetically charged. We have negative and positive. You put two magnets together, they attract each other. If you put a negative and positive side to a mattic, it attracts. Positive and positive, you can't hardly get them together. Well, our earth is like that too. Well, our earth is the magnetic field. So when we have rock that comes out of the ground, we want a neutral charge. We don't want positive, we don't want negative. We want pretty much a neutral charge. And really the only way to do that, because when it comes out of the ground, it's gonna be hot. It's gonna be positively charged. So what we do, usually just by crushing it, mining it, washing it, it reduces the charge. But to ensure that what we put on the ground is gonna adhere like the craziest Elmer glue you've ever seen, we use a cationic, it's a cationic oil, and anionic and cationic, differently charged. You don't want to use anionic oil for chip seal because of the charge. Now, all of you out there are going to say, well, is cationic negative and anionic positive? I don't know. All I know is you want to use it because of the charge of the cationic oil. That's the right oil you want to use. Now, will anionic work? Yeah, we've done it before. We've had a little patch, like literally, we've had like a little 5x5 patch that we've had to do in chip seal, and we've just flooded it out with SS1H, pure SS1H, and we put it down, we roll it, and we let it sit for like 4 days, go back and sweep it, and it's totally fine. So it does work, but it's not going to hold the rock as well as a CRS well. Now, the other thing with the CRS, a CRS2H, 2 hydrogens, the reason for the CRS is because the asphalt residual, the actual black goopy stuff that we get out of the ground is like, I want to say it's like 64 or 65%. And that's the residual asphalt in the CRS. And I want to say for SS1H, and there's people out there, David Diaz, shout out to you, David. There's guys out there that are a hell of a lot smarter with emulsions than I am. And I believe the SS1H is only 57% residual. So you're getting like 10%, practically 10% more oil in the CRS. So different charge, so it grabs the rock better, more oil, and it's a rapid set. CRS, cationic, rapid set, 2 hydrogens. The rapid means it's going to grab the rock faster than an SS1H, which is anionic, slow set, one SS1H, 1 hydrogen. So the cationic is going to grab it better, rapid set, it's going to hold it faster, and you can literally open it up to traffic. I get calls all the time that says, hey Scott, you're coming out to do my driveway tomorrow, or you're going to build my new roadway out of chip seal, and how long do we have to stay off of it? And I say, well, the great news is you don't have to stay off of it. We're putting the oil down, we're putting the rock down, and we're putting our rollers on it, and we're literally driving on the chip seal immediately. And there's a lot of Caltrans spec on chip seal is you oil it, you rock it, you sweep it, and you fog seal it all in the same day. I mean, obviously there's different kinds of oils that allow you to do that, and they're definitely not CRSs. They're more like PM CRSs, pass oil, but I'm not going to get in. That's exotics. That's a Caltrans thing. That's a municipality thing. But for what we're talking about here today, keep it basic. It does this is a very simple job. It doesn't have to be complicated, but it has to be done right in order for you, the client, to get the best job possible. So we talked about the oil, we talked about the rock. Now I'd like to move into a big thing, and especially Shane and I are out here, Waller Park, I said that. And is it fall or is it like into summer? Are we officially in fall? Officially. Okay, we are officially in fall right now. I didn't know if we were, it kind of feels like today, there's no sun out, but it kind of feels today like it's fall. But we're officially in fall, and let's talk about that. So we're here in California. Now, I'm kind of jealous of my counterparts that are in other parts of the country because they have a definite season. I have friends in, I have friends on the East Coast, and I'm just trying to think of an area. Tennessee. Well, no, Timmy works all year long, but let's say Illinois. Illinois, your season, because of the winters, your season is only like 4 months because you got to let it warm up. Then after it warms up, everything has to thaw out. Then you have 4 months to work. Then it starts getting cold again, and then it starts snowing. They have a finite season. Here in California, especially here on the Central Coast, we're sunny all year round, which is true. So this is the time of year and we're already getting those calls. Hey Scott, we want to get going on our driveway. We want to get going on our parking lot. We want to get going on our roadway. We're trying to beat the rain. Guys, I've been saying this since the start of Ramsey Asphalt. We don't care about the rain, because usually rain, and especially here on the Central Coast, usually rain brings warmer temperatures. We don't care about the rain. We care about the cold temps. Starting in, well, every year is different, and we don't know what nature is going to bring us this year. Every year is different, but usually sometimes it's gotten really cold around Halloween, but typically maybe with global warming or whatever, it's been getting warmer later. So the last couple of years, we've actually been chip sealing right up until Thanksgiving. And then for whatever reason, the week after Thanksgiving, the temps drop, they plummet down into the 30s and 40s, even the 20s at night. Even though the days warm up to the 60s, the nights are so cold that the surface never warms up enough. Just because the earth is holding back all that. It either holds back the heat or holds back the coldness. It retains it. It's like an insulator. So that's what we really need to be focused on. So all of you people, all of you clients now, future clients, just remember there's definitely a season in California. Now, the seasons, and I'm going to talk about the little bubble that I live in, that I work in. The season here on the Central Coast is different geographically because we're in this weird little microclimate. So I tell people, San Ynez Valley, we're probably done chip sealing early November. Paso Robles Valley, we're probably done chip sealing early November. Santa Barbara, Lompoc, Santa Maria, Cambria, over on the coast, I mean, we're chip sealing all the way through probably Thanksgiving. So even here locally, we have these valley regions that just cool off really quick, but they do heat up pretty quick too in those valleys. But yeah, Santa Barbara, Carpinteria, Santa Maria, I mean, they stay pretty mild all year round. And I would imagine in Southern, whoa, that guy got a hell of a big fish. Was that like a catfish? Oh my God. I hope he doesn't eat that. He will get sick. Anyway, you can see that public. Anyway, so yeah, and I would imagine in Southern California, Southern Cal is, you know, back in the day, it once was a desert. It is a desert. So I would say you start getting out to Riverside, San Bernardino, you're probably going to experience the same thing. Riverside, San Bernardino, the eastern side of Los Angeles area, it's probably going to cool down a lot quicker. But as you get closer to the beach, as you get closer inland, as you get away from inland, you start getting toward the beach, it's going to warm up. So I would imagine Southern California, which I don't know that market all that well, but Southern California, I would imagine it's probably the same thing. Inland, they probably stop chip seal, I would guess, beginning of November, closer to the Long Beach, those areas, Culver City, they're probably chip sealing probably through Thanksgiving. I don't know. So yeah, so that is just remember, we don't care about the rain. We don't care the rain is not really a big issue. Now, the rain is a big issue when it comes to potholes, and that's what I'm going to lead right into is preventive maintenance. Rain is a destroyer of asphalt. Really the only three destroyers of asphalt is water, the sun, and traffic. That's it. Those are the only three destroyers of asphalt. The sun dries out the asphalt, causes it to get brittle quicker and fracture. Water likes to, asphalt likes to stick to water better than it likes to stick to the aggregate. So as soon as you put water on asphalt, it literally just dissolves the rock. The oil wants to go away and evaporate away with the water. So anytime you put water on asphalt, you literally are just washing the oil away from the aggregate, and then you're left with a rough pothole parking lot or potholed roadway. That's why our beloved California, we have potholes everywhere, just because of the preventive maintenance. So we do care about the rain in that instance, but we don't care about the rain in the reason why most people think. So moving on to preventive maintenance, final subject, and I'll quit talking here. So I opened up this podcast today with saying that chip seal is the reason why financially Ramsey Asphalt is still here today. Otherwise, we would have been out of business a long time ago. But I say that, and I've learned, because since 2008, 2009, 2010, I literally have really embraced the maintenance side of the company. And whenever there's a seminar to go to, Shane and I have been to a few seminars, David Diaz and I have been to a few seminars, I really don't like going, or I really have no reason to go to the paving conferences, where they bring out these monster paving machines and everybody's gaga over these pickup machines and pavers and grinders. And I mean, the technology is cool and the technology is fun to look at, because these machines are doing things these days. Machines now, they're operated by one guy, whereas as early as 10 years ago, it took 2 guys to operate them or 3 guys to operate them. So technology is really coming very far in the paving industry. But why do I need to learn about that? My sales rep will come and tell me all about it. As soon as a new machine comes out, he's the first one knocking at my door. Hey, Scott, do you got 5 minutes? I'm going to show you this new paving machine. So I don't really need to go to a seminar for that. However, I do go to a lot, I shouldn't say a lot, but I do try to go to at least once a year. I try to go to a pavement preservation, CalAPA, something like that. I try to go to a pavement preservation conference just to see what's new out there, just to see how we talked about cutting of the aggregate for chip seal or the screening, how it makes a difference in the lifespan of asphalt, and I geek out on the studies they do where they said, okay, on section 395, mile marker 101 to 102, we did this, and on mile marker 102 to 103, we did this. And then Caltrans is wonderful. They have all these studies where they'll show you what happened, mile marker 101 to 102, 102 to 103, 103 to 104. And they do these little experiments out on the freeways, and they actually publish the results, and the results are phenomenal. I mean, some of the results, like, for example, one thing I read about 30 years ago was, and it took a long time for my competitors to realize this, is paving fabric. That was something that was going down a lot everywhere. And I read something, it was put out by Caltrans, Illinois DOT, Michigan DOT. There was a bunch of entities that put out this article that's saying, hey guys, 1.5 inch pavement over Petromat has 0 reduction in reflective cracking. So you pave it with 1.5 inch, the cracks are going to come right back. You might as well not pay for the Petromat. The Petromat's like 30 cents a square foot, at least. And so, but the funny thing was, they bumped up the asphalt by 1/2 inch, 2 inches over 2 inches of asphalt over Petromat, or an interlayer. I don't mean to use the word Petromat because that's proprietary, but let's just call it a paving interlayer. And just by adding 1/2 inch of asphalt, they reduced 80% reduction in reflective cracking. That's amazing. So all of my Petromat overlays, like if somebody called me and said, I want 1.5 inch, no thanks, not for us. Or what I'll suggest, I'll say, hey, if you're dead set on 1.5 inch overlay, back out the paving fabric and save the money, because there's no reason to put it in there. So anyway, getting back to the preservation, I like to see what guys are doing with preservation, because I'm going to give you guys a little example. So somebody, a friend of mine long ago told me, he said, Scott, pavement preservation is pennies. New infrastructure or new paving is dollars. And it's true now as it was 30 years ago. So for example, chip sealing a roadway, slurring a roadway is 40, depending on the volume, depending on the size of the job, 30 to 40 to 50 cents a square foot. To do an overlay in California, you're talking $2 a square foot, $2.50 a square foot. To do a remove and replace, depending on subgrade upgrades, depending on what needs to be done, you could be $4 to $5 a square foot. Now, I know guys in other parts of the country are saying, oh my God, I wish I could get that kind of money out here in Tennessee. But no, I mean, it's the same. The profit margins and everything is the same. The cost of the product here in California is just that much more. I mean, we're in the $90 per ton range here in California for asphalt, $90 a ton. Now, I don't know what we're paying anywhere else in the world, but here in California, we're paying 90 bucks a ton. We pay $5 a gallon for fuel. That's just the way it is. And because the cost of goods is higher, that just goes on to the consumer. But for me to keep the company going, for other contractors to keep the company going, the overhead's the same, the profit is the same. We still have to buy a new paving machine every 4 or 5 years. Everything is the same. So don't get hung up on the cost per square foot. I just want to give an analogy. Now in other parts of the country, chip seal might be 25 cents a square foot, and a fabric overlay might be $1.50 a square foot. But the ratio is always going to be the same, no matter what. The ratios are going to be the same. That's why I had a podcast where we were talking about overhead, profit. It's always the same. If you're running a mid-sized paving company, your overhead with marketing, advertising, fuel, breakdowns, all that, paying your shop, paying your mechanic, it's always going to be 30%, no matter what. No matter if you're seal coating, chip sealing, paving, concrete, your overhead is always going to be 30%, guaranteed. Now, other certain times of the year, like during the winter time, when you're putting all this money into equipment and you're not making it and you have zero income coming in, your overhead is like 150%. But anyway, as it averages out over the year, you can figure your overhead's going to be about 30%. Sorry, I digress. Getting back to maintenance, like I said, maintenance is the fundamentals. I've done charts for homeowners associations. And I've done, the reason I've done these is because it's a nice little exercise for myself, where I've taken asphalt that has a 30-year life, and what is the cost of just letting that asphalt just burn through the potholes? Okay, we know that cost because we have the installation cost, then we have the replacement cost. Then I've done that same thing, brand new asphalt, but then I figure in a 5-year life cycle, 5 years, 5 years, 5 years. And what I do is I actually escalate. So for years 1 through 20, single coat, single coat, single coat, single coat, seal coat, single coat slurry, seal coat, single coat slurry. Then year 20, I actually bump it up to a double coat. Just so, hey, if there's some fines or some aggregate coming out of the surface, let's add it back in. And I've actually done that for people. And then at the end of that 30 years, now we're just simply looking at, we have an old dry surface. We're just going to mill it, do an 1.5 inch overlay. The maintenance cost, even with ultimately paving in 30 years, is always significantly less than the initial build and then rebuilding it in 30 years. I mean, it's hundreds of thousands of dollars less. It's so significant that it doesn't even make sense not to preserve asphalt. I mean, financially, it doesn't, I don't know how else to say it except for financially, it doesn't make sense not to preserve asphalt. Now, another step, if you have a good contractor that you like and trust, the Asphalt Institute, now I'm going back to asphalt, they tell us that asphalt these days, with the binders we're using, with the aggregate we're using, it can last indefinitely. That is true if the proper maintenance is done. Now, I've taken over associations, homeowners associations, that have been doing what they've been told since the 70s. We're going to seal coat every 3 years, every 3 years, every 3 years, every 3 years. Well, they've actually suffocated the asphalt, dried out the surface, now it's trashed. So the reason I bring this up is Asphalt Institute tells us a new installation theoretically could last forever. I agree with that with proper maintenance. So in my studies I've done for homeowners associations, where we start out with new asphalt, we have the install cost, then at the end of the 30 years, we have new install costs, which is hundreds of thousands. Then we take the example of preservation, proper preservation. Well, I'm only giving them 30 years with the assumption that we have to do an overlay at the end of the 30 years. But what if we bump it out to 40 years, 45 years, 50 years? Well, now you've just distorted the numbers so bad that it does, then you're really a fool not for maintaining your asphalt. So I think I've covered enough today on chip seal, the do's and, I guess we can call it the do's and don'ts of chip seal. We talked about the time of the year to do maintenance. The hotter the better. That's all you got to remember. The hotter the better. And even if you have to postpone it, asphalt doesn't degrade or degenerate as quick as people think. I'm always suggesting people, hey, if I go look at a job in November, I'm just saying, hey, I'll see you in spring. That's what I say. Oh my God, I can't go another winter with my asphalt like this. Don't worry about it. I'll give you a quote now. It'll be good until spring. We'll be back out here and it'll be fine. So suggest the clients they postpone, or you clients suggest to your contractor you postpone. No guarantee they're going to be able to hold the price, but at least you can postpone it. And lastly, we talked about preservation versus new paving, and I think that's all I got for now. So do what you guys do. Subscribe, like, dislike, whatever you guys want to do. It's all good with me. We love you guys. Thank you for watching. Peace.